and welcome to yet another Shared Screens Media Club. I will be your host, Austiners. Joining me as part of Shared Screens, we have fireworks behind Josh and Alec. How we doing, guys?
Doing great.
Doing great.
That was so weird because not only did the fireworks go off, my Siri equivalent on my phone was like, "Yeah, what's up?"
Yeah.
I was like, "What's happening?"
Oh, jeez.
AI is
Apple-
taking over.
Apple's trying to take over.
Yes,
I
sir.
mean, I have a Pixel, so that was just Google listening, I guess. But
Oh.
anyway. So today's topic, we are going to
Yep.
talk all things like developers that we want them to tackle a new genre. So like we want I don't know, let Naughty Dog to do
Or some existing examples.
Okay, go ahead.
Would be what? Guerrilla, like what they did. They're doing Resistance. They did the Horizon games.
Yeah.
Zero Dawn and Forbidden West.
Sure, they went from a shooter to like a more
And then
like
the other example I had was Respawn. They're mostly doing like FPS games, and they went to Jedi Fallen Order. And
Yeah.
Sure.
That's way different genre.
I think like a more dramatic example, not like a real life, but like if Naughty Dog made like a rhythm game,
Yeah.
like just something
Right,
crazy
yeah.
like that.
I think the craziest one I've seen has been Housemark going from Resogun, and
those more arcade games.
Yeah, those twin stick shooters to
Returnal.
Returnal, and literally the DNA is still in there. You're still seeing the same like orbs,
Bullet hell.
bullet health, bullets fly at you, and you're still able to dodge and weave and jump over them. But now it's in third person, and it's incredible.
Yeah, Housemark, famous developer of Maquette. Moving on. I was actually going to say, I think Housemark's like DNA helped them make Returnal. I was like, nope,
Yeah.
I got to do a callback to my fucking dumbass. So, okay, here we go. So, but before we talk all things about that topic, we are going to talk a little bit about No Rest for the Wicked. Guys, do you know what No Rest for the Wicked is?
No, enlighten me.
So No Rest for the Wicked
barely
is
anything about it.
the kind of the example that we're using for the topic a little bit. They're the people who make Ori in the Will of the Wisps, Ori in the Blind Forest, I think is the other one. So they are like Metroidvania, like really colorful Metroidvanias.
Moon Studios, I believe it is.
Moon Studios, correct. They are releasing a game in early access called No Rest for the Wicked that is an ARPG, an action RPG. And it's from like the top down. And this game fucking rocks, guys. It's like it controls like a Souls-like. I don't play Souls-likes, but this is something that, and again, I lost my temper several times. I went that on the record. Like this game is something that's like that definitively just the core of it is not for me, but it's so intriguing, guys. But I want to get into it. So
we're going into this game. Were you a big fan of the Ori games?
No, I played the first one, got like 3 or 4 hours in, and I was like, "Yep, I get it," and then I kind of bounced off of it.
Oh, okay.
So the genre itself and like this dev just not usually like my cup of tea.
Right.
But going into this, it's just so unique, and I will get into why. But we did receive a code from their PR people. I had a name and I forgot. It is gone. However, thank you for the code. Thank you very much. But we are going to talk about No Rest for the Wicked. It is in early access. I think it released last month, I believe. So we're getting to this a little late, but with it being in early access, we're like, we're good. We can relax a little bit. We can talk about this today. So and that's why we chose the topic that it is. So I played 4 hours of this game. I wanted to play more, but I have a life, and I've been working full time and picking up extra hours. But 4 hours in, I use controller, and my PC has okay specs as to what it was supposed to. I don't have the specs you're supposed to have, so I chugged a little bit, but I was able to turn on some settings and play with it a little bit, and it to where it's running fine.
Made it playable.
Exactly. I have some issues when literally or just like audio clipping is like my biggest issue. Where, like, I'll hear the whole thing. It just sounds kind of like forced at the top and kind of like a clicking noise, and then forced at the end and kind of like a click. Like it's just it's like abruptly entering my ears. It's weird, but that's like the number one thing. Like in terms of fluidity in combat, that's all perfectly fine. So that's what I was worried about. But so I was chugging a little bit. But you play as a shipwrecked Sarim fighting enemies called the Risen as a silent protagonist. So your guy is not really talking. You kind of just take in the world. And there are some really interesting characters with a really interesting character art. I call these guys they're chonky boys because they are like built like just like a thick like burly man, but their arm
Mhm.
span is like twice the size it's supposed to be.
Right.
It's
Oh,
so weird.
jeez.
And they have a nice character creator at the top. You create your own little dude or woman, and you go in there. But you're a serum who are like essentially like I think holy warriors from the past or something like that. I've only played 4
Yeah.
hours, so I don't have the lore down yet. But
Mhm.
in terms of
Mm.
what is established early on, it's pretty intriguing.
Uh,
Um,
Quick question, like
Absolutely.
from what you've played, is there, and I know you didn't play a whole lot of Ori, but from what you played, is the DNA from Ori in this game? Could you tell like this is the same developer had you not known, you
If I
know?
had not known, no. But the
Mhm.
art style of Ori is like up to like 11 on this one. And I think
Right.
it's even more unique here. It's
Okay.
very very
Mhm.
colorful. It goes into there's even way more exploration which I'll get into than you think. Like this game
Right.
is about exploring. It's not
Okay.
necessarily about the combat. Um,
Which I mean, that's one thing. The little I do know about Souls likes, it's kind of
exactly.
that Metroidvania esque where you are kind of exploring. You're going into different hallways and
Right.
Exactly. So like the
taking the path
color.
less traveled.
Sure.
Mhm.
The color scheme of Ori, I think, is here. It's just like it's like a color pencil painting, but like when they went
Right.
over it with a ton more layers than they should have, like way more attention to detail.
Yeah.
But it's genuinely gorgeous. Like this might be the
Okay.
prettiest game I've laid my eyes on this year, and
Really.
it's really 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 pretty.
Even
Um,
for early access, like, you're
hundred
not
percent,
finding a whole lot of
hundred
issues
percent.
there?
That's
Yes,
awesome.
the
Yeah.
art is like if even if you're like don't enjoy this game, you're gonna want to boot it up
Right.
just to get a good look at it. It's that good, guys.
Okay.
So you're saying I should put it up on my big TV, not my tiny computer monitor.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like this has like so many moments and the game knows it of like desktop background material.
Okay,
Because
hell yeah.
you'll go to like a mountaintop or like a like I don't know, you're in a you eventually get to a town called Sacrament.
Yeah.
And you there's like little like balconies you can kind of walk to
Mhm.
and then the camera
Mhm.
pans over to the rest of like what's over there and you can kind of see like the trees and the buildings in the background and it's so
Right.
cool.
Mhm.
It's so cool,
I love
dude.
when games do that.
I know
Mhm.
because they know what they're doing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
So,
Now,
mhm.
go for it.
I was just gonna say, is being early access. This is only on like PC, right?
From what I know, yes. Yeah, because the code I received was for PC, and I briefly went through the email, and it didn't seem like there were any other options. So I'm pretty sure
Gotcha.
it's only on, well, maybe not only on Steam, but only on PC.
Mhm.
Right.
I can double
So
check that real quick, but yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. That would be big. The question I was gonna ask, like, with only the visual art style being part of the identity of the studio and kind of that being
sure.
the biggest part that carries over from Ori.
And that's coming from someone who only dabbled in the on
R-
the Ori game, so
Right.
there could be more there than I know.
Do you think this, because Ori, like, I know Ori has such a cult following
Sure.
of fans, right? Do you think this switch from that style to this more action RPG Souls like is worth it for the studio? Do you think like they really have something special enough on their hands to justify that, leaving that cult, or maybe hopefully carrying that cult of fans over to this new project?
I think it's a really, really, really big swing that they nail.
Okay.
I think it's a home run because
Right.
if you kind of boil down like the difficulty of Metroidvania, some Metroidvanias hard as fuck,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Like some of them, and so you have that kind of same DNA there. And
Right.
I honestly think the fact that people are talking about like, hey, it's a top down Souls like, it's a top down Souls like. Souls likes are the thing, and they have been the
Yeah.
thing for a
Oh yeah.
while. So even if
Mhm.
they lose some of their fan base from the original Ori games, they're going to gain so many more. But I do
Right.
think they're going to
Mhm.
retain more than like you would initially think because of like
100%.
that kind of difficulty kind of carries over. It's a different
Yeah.
kind, don't get me wrong, but I do
Mhm.
think there's something there as
Yeah.
the term of carryover.
No matter what, if you're a fan of those 2 genres, you are a freak. You love difficulty in
Yup.
games, and you love being punished, and so Metroidvania style games and Souls-like are some of the 2 most punishable genres, right? But also
Mhm.
they're some of the most like rewarding and satisfying because you get good. You're forced to
Exactly.
Yeah.
get good,
Like
and
There's
so
layers of that in this game too that
yeah,
you
I
don't
feel
go
like
on.
that would help the
mhm.
kind of bridge the gap between the old fans and the new fans.
I mean, yeah, from what I know of like Demon Souls and Dark Souls, or more so
Mm,
Dark Souls, because they actually had the more interconnected world of like
mm.
you have to go through and you can unlock shortcuts between places and all that. So
Yeah.
kind of a Metroidvania.
Right.
Yeah, just from a different perspective and less
Mhm.
like parkour. Um, Platforming. But I do genuinely think that there's more carryover than what
Oh
you would
yeah.
initially think with like, oh, the fan base of Metroidvania is coming. And I am shocked that this year my two favorite games I've played this entire year are Metroidvania and a somewhat Souls-like. And those are
Damn.
not my games, guys.
Right.
Like I
Yep.
definitively don't have patience for those type of games because I'm just like
Yeah.
I can't do this. I get frustrated.
Mhm.
Did I get frustrated for The Lost Crown, Prince of Persia? Yes.
You're
Finish
right.
that game. Fantastic. Did I get frustrated playing this game? Fuck yes. Do I want to
Yeah.
continue? Fuck yes. Like
Yeah.
this game is
That's
that good,
awesome.
guys. So
Right.
And I
continuing
did
on. Go ahead.
checking in real quick with it is only available on PC right now on Steam. It
Okay.
is $40, which I mean for early access, not a bad price for
Oof,
what
thank you for the
so
code.
far.
Thank you for the code.
I mean, from everything Austin's been saying, it's like I can't wait to give this a try.
As someone
Right.
who like does this not for a living, but like does what we do podcasting about
Mhm.
video games, this is a must play, guys. Like I'm telling you.
Right.
I understand the price point. Like it's an apt price point, especially for early access might be a little sketchy, right? A little bit, right? I understand that. But
Yeah.
I understand being like, $40, I get it. But I'm telling you, for what we do, this is one of those games, guys.
Yeah.
I am telling
It's
you.
gonna be like almost like a Hades kind of a thing, like
Different fan
once
base, but yes.
but
Absolutely.
you know what I mean, like how it's like it wasn't early access, but man,
Yep.
when it hits that 1.0, it is just gonna take
Oh,
off.
yeah. Yeah, and
I'm following you.
that's probably what is gonna, get me into this is that 1.0 and then that mass release on
Yep.
consoles and other systems right after the fact, right? Like this is gonna be a
Oh yeah.
big stinner at State of Play, right? Down the line when it hopefully comes out at on PlayStation or whenever and they announce it and get
You
it on
can
there.
wish list it on both Xbox and PSN.
Oh, okay, so it's like
Yep.
confirmed coming down. Okay,
Yep.
that's awesome. So yeah, that'd probably be my jump point in. You mentioned getting frustrated with it. Does this game have like a lot of that like get good mentality?
Um, in terms of the amount of it, because again, as someone who doesn't play Souls likes that much, I don't know if it's more or less than any other Souls like.
Gotcha.
Okay.
But what I will say is, every time I've picked up the play a Souls like, I'm like, I could do this. Like, I can feel the
Right.
parts of it where I'm like, if I just
Yep.
took the time, I know I could do this.
Yeah.
In this game, I feel that even a little bit more. Like,
Okay.
it's
Okay.
difficult. Don't get me wrong, but they're like, because you can parry, you can sneak, you can just block once you get a shield. Like if I
Right.
want to just tackle this opponent with my shield, like only blocking, right? I can probably manage doing that. Now
Yeah.
you have to resource management, make sure I have enough health potions because I'm blocking, I'm gonna take some of that damage, right? So
Right.
so I had to. It's if I'm low on potions, I'm probably just dodging, right? If I'm low
Yeah.
on that food, so
Mhm.
like there's a lot of that to it. But I do think the terms of like timing my parries and timing my blocks and choosing how to methodically take on these enemies or several enemies at once, which is really, really cool once you fucking nail it, let me tell you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think it's an apt amount of it. Does that
Right.
answer your question?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Right.
Okay. I would be remiss because I mentioned this earlier. I said these were like chonky guys. They're also
Mhm.
lanky. I don't know how to explain it. They're like thick.
Lanky
They have
chonky.
like a skinny face. It's
Hmm.
hard to explain, but they're very
Interesting.
unique body types that I enjoy.
Right.
So this is a top-down camera, very, very explorable. Uh, It's more explorable, and I love that part of it. But
Yeah.
sometimes there are certain areas and paths that you just can't see because of how the camera kind of like opens up,
Yeah.
not opens up, but like it reveals parts of the map once you kind of like push towards that direction. So if
Yeah.
you don't really know that you have to go that way, you're going to miss 3/4 of this game if you just kind of like one golden path it, but two just kind of like don't try to like nudge up against that wall and see if that's actually a wall. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
keep going that way. And
So it
on top
encourages
of
you
that,
to actually explore,
it
not
does,
just
and I like that about it. But there's a downfall, and that's because I've heard some people talk about like in Souls likes, there's always that enemy in the corner who's just like throwing bombs at you or something, or like shooting arrows at you, and you're like
yeah.
motherfucker.
Yeah.
That happens in this game too. I don't want anyone to tell you it doesn't because it does.
Right.
Like there was a guy like above me on like another level of this castle per se. It's not exactly, but pretty much.
Yeah.
And I couldn't see him, and this dude's just hucking bombs at me, and I could not find him, and I was getting pissed off, and I'm like, where is this
Mhm.
dude?
Yeah.
And then I eventually found a path that goes up that I
Mhm.
didn't know was there. And
Gotcha.
there he is, that yeah, I fucking killed that dude. All right, but he deserved it. All right, and
Just snipes you
speak
from across the map.
100%. And
Mhm.
there's also people who have crossbows, and it's not just bombs, but
Mhm.
it's a whole thing.
Right.
I wouldn't say that happens a lot, but it happens enough to where like I understand you want this to be explorable, but that is something that I'm just like, like I
Yeah.
and they do a thing where like I don't think it happened every time, but I think once I'm like in range per se as someone, you hear them go like, "Whoa!" They like
Right.
make a
Oh,
noise.
okay.
So at least you have like some kind of audio cue that like, ah shit, like where are they at?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
you can like get your dodges ready or
Now,
something.
is the combat just all melee weapons, or is there
There
range weapon or options?
there are bow and arrows, there are crossbows, there's a staff. And
Okay.
I think the staff you can like still hit with, but I think there's some kind of like magic thing to the
Gotcha.
staff. I primarily used a sword and a shield and like
Yeah.
two little daggers. That's
Mhm.
how I would play. So I wanted to play how I would play
Right.
Yep.
because I knew I wasn't gonna get that much time in. If I was gonna play 10 to 15 hours, then I would have dabbled more, obviously.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
my way of playing, and of course, I picked up the staff and hit a
Right.
couple enemies and did my rigmarole. But
Mhm.
there are range weapons. I just can't speak too much
Mhm.
On
on
them.
those.
Right.
Yes.
Speaking on that, play how you want to play element, like how deep are these RPG mechanics going, right? How
Yeah.
like is this kind of like Fallout level, making your character, you can stick to that character, like how deep are we talking here?
It doesn't have as many options as Fallout, but you do have like the
Right.
dexterity, the health, the stamina, the like essentially your mana. There's another word for it, but there's something
Right.
like that.
Mhm.
But yeah, you start with like all tens, and then every time you level up, you get 3 points, and you can kind of
Right.
up other
Allocate how you
things.
want.
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Nice.
And some weapons have like you need to have 12 strength to harness this or something like that. And so you're like,
Right.
well, I guess
That's cool.
my strength is at 11, so now the next time I level up, guess what I'm doing?
Yeah.
Um,
Bumping it up to
Yep.
12. Yeah. Right.
just touching on this real quick before I forget, you can climb pretty much everything. Like
S-
you can't literally climb everything, but if you can
Mhm.
Right.
jump and reach it,
Yeah.
you can
Like
climb it for the
mantle
most
up
part.
to it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep. And because of that exploration, it took me 30 minutes to get to the first area.
Damn.
Oh,
So like 1/6
wow.
of my time was just like because I just
Right.
wanted to explore.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And even that's not even counting the intro sequence, which you're on like a big pirate ship, and then
Yeah.
you take on these like enemies that invade you, and you fight them, and then you shipwreck, and you're on an island, and you lost all your
Right.
shit. It's kind of cool actually. But
Oh.
continuing on the combat, there, like I said, you can like sneak up behind people,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and you can do like a sneak damage animation. So like if you can be in the middle of
Ooh.
combat and they're going for like a big swing, right? You can kind of
Yeah.
like crouch down, get behind them, and do like and do
Yeah.
like a double damage type of deal.
Mhm.
I did that
Nice.
a lot. Let me tell you,
Okay.
a lot. Let's see here.
So it doesn't have
Oh, it
the sneak attack doesn't necessarily mean it have to be like hidden from enemies, just kind of
Right.
behind them.
Behind them.
Okay.
primarily you would want to, but yes, you can like be in the
Mhm.
middle of combat and sort of like get behind them and do like pa. And I wonder
Yep.
if like you're literally not
Yeah.
detected. There's no like detection. That's not a thing.
Right.
Yeah.
But like I wonder if like you literally have not engaged yet, if it would do like a little bit more damage.
Right.
Right.
But I
That
don't know.
that reminds me of, like, Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Origins, like, once they did away with all the, like, hack and slash stuff and the stuff like, assassinations, like, it just became sneaking up behind guys, and then you do 200 and damage instead of 100 if you were to just run
Yeah.
up and hit them,
Exactly.
and then you're not, like, fully killing them. So
That was Assassin's Creed much easier. Just
right.
saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Much easier.
Yeah.
So I talked about like one of my only little bugs was like audio clipping. This
Yeah.
isn't like a bug, and again, early access, but this isn't a bug. But
Right.
like the targeting enemies, there's like a toggle you can say like auto target enemies. You're like, oh, cool,
Right.
that's fun. That thing's broken as shit. Like
Damn.
I'm clearly looking at that Joe Schmo to my
Mhm.
right, and my
Right.
guy's just like
Looking at you left.
just like looking at the
Mhm.
dude at my left, and I'm like, no, I'm clearly closer to this
Right.
other dude, and I just attacked him. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. So I
Let me
turn that
pivot.
off. So then
Yeah.
you're more just staring into an abyss and kind of. So yeah, but the targeting for me just didn't work.
Right.
Mhm.
Um, there in the introductory sequence, you have what I just call my homies. There's people on the ship that you're fighting with you, and
Yeah.
I just hung around one of them, right? So we're tag teaming all these all these guys.
Hell
Actually,
yeah.
take that out of context.
Yeah.
Nice.
But so he's going in, and I get around him,
Grazing.
sneak damage. He gets
Yeah.
damaged. And I just like run around. I get the other guy, sneak damage. Like I'm just like me and my homie are taking
Mhm.
these guys out
Yeah.
one by one, and he lasted to the end until we got to the boss of that. So
Right.
Mhm.
just saying,
And so,
find a homie.
speaking about homies, like, do you have combat companions in this game?
No. At least
No.
from what I understand, no, that was just in the sequence. But I wanted to bring that
Right.
up for like a later thing, but I'll bring it up now. From on like the roadmap that they have, I'm not saying it's like a legit roadmap. It's just on their Steam
Right.
page. Co-op is a thing,
Okay, hell
and
yeah.
this
That
game with
was
co-op, I think looks fucking incredible. Like I
I
Yeah.
was
cannot wait for
that
co-op.
was gonna be one of my questions. Is like I wasn't quite sure if it had multiplayer at this point, but I'm like, it's one of those like games that you can just
Not
see
right now.
multiplayer in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not there right now, but this is the type of game where it's so hard for me, at least for me personally, that like I would want a friend. Like just give me a hand, like please.
Right.
Right. Or like
So
just imagine if you could like I don't know if it's just gonna be like 2 people or if we can actually get 4 people in there. Like, could you imagine just a night with the homies just like grinding through this game?
100%.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
It'd still be stressful, though. I'm not telling you because it
Oh,
would still
right,
be
yeah.
stressful. I promise
I'm
you.
sure.
But yeah,
Right.
I'm sure it would like scale up because there's obviously more of you,
yeah,
so more
yep,
Yeah.
enemies,
yep,
more
yep, yep, yep,
health. But yeah,
yep, yep, yep. And carrying on to like more of the exploration part, you can find chests everywhere. You can find barrels everywhere. Like there is
Right.
a bunch of loot in here, and you can cook, you can dig, you can mine, you can cook, or I'm sorry, you can chop down woods,
Yeah.
trees. Jesus Christ! But there's like
we're
you can do a bunch of you can do a bunch of random shit. They're like, okay, I guess I can do that, and I think you use a
Yeah.
lot of that for like your armor stuff, and then later on you can buy a house. You can live in Sacrament. You can have
ooh,
your own little home,
Right.
and you can furnish it, and you can buy. I think that's where the wood goes to. But yeah, you can do all that kind of stuff, and that's fun. And the stuff you cook is like, so you can find like mushrooms and apples, but if you cook them into a dish, they do way more health instead
Right.
of just like that's pretty
gotcha.
typical. But the one main thing I want to talk about, because there's a poise system, which I think is basically like your until your guard is broken. Like, oh, you're
Right.
staggered. I think it's
The
similar to
stagger
that,
meter kind of thing. Yeah.
but you have a poise system and they have a poise system, from my understanding. It was kind of confusing, but it's similar to that.
Mhm.
Right.
But the one thing I really wanted to talk about was your weight class. Like, you don't choose a weight class. Your weight class is determined by what you're carrying. So if I'm going into battle and I have, and
Mm,
it also depends on how much you can carry. Like, that's another
Right.
stat. You like carry weight or whatever.
mhm.
But if you go into battle completely naked with daggers, you can dodge faster. But if you go
Okay.
into battle like
Mhm.
medium, like you have like a helmet and maybe some pants and then like a sword and a shield, you're probably around that medium range. And then you have like a normal speed dodge. And then if you
Right.
have like a heavy weapon and you're decked out in armor, you are considered heavy. And you can dodge still,
Yep.
but it's very slow. But
Yep.
the heavy, and I think they do this to compensate, like, yes, you're really slow. You can do this thing called like a barrage, where you essentially just charge at them and break their guard.
Hmm.
Oh,
but
that's
but that
cool.
is also slow. So you can't just like mash that, because it also takes your
Right.
stamina as well. But so
That
if you if
sounds.
if you're forced to be a heavy, like there's one thing. It's like, well, you're
Mhm.
heavy and you're slow, but you can do this.
Yeah, that sounds. I did play Elden Ring just a little bit, and that sounds very similar to what they had as well, where
Right.
it's
I wouldn't
uh,
know,
no,
but here
and
it's
that's why
very
I wanted.
intriguing.
Well, that's why I wanted to bring it up. Is
Yeah.
that that's is a very Souls like kind of thing where
Mhm.
depending on what you're carrying, what your armor setup is, what weapons you're using, that does affect your maneuverability.
100%. And it made me like dabble with other things, because like I was battling. I do want to say I defeated 2 bosses already. Just saying, and the
Damn.
the second one, first try. Just saying. Just
Whoa.
saying, right? But
Oh,
the first
a
Okay.
boss, the
gamer
first boss
here.
I liked because like I died a couple times
Yeah.
and I
Mhm.
was heavy, right? So I was using all my good shit, right? That's what you'd
Yep.
think.
Right.
Booting up a game, I'm putting on my best armor, I'm using my best weapons. I was
Yeah.
like, so because of the weight class system, I was like the strat isn't always to use your best stuff, because
Right.
you might be too slow, and I like that about it. So I
Yeah.
I kept my armor, but I went down to daggers, and that put me right at the limit of being
Oh,
too heavy. So,
nice.
so I still had like I could still use my normal dodge, and I could still do a decent amount of damage and
Yeah.
be protected.
That
So I
honestly
ended
just
up barely beating that first boss doing that.
Right.
the image of like this dude that's just fully armored up and just 2 little daggers.
Yeah.
Exactly. It was like,
Yeah. Yeah. While we're on the topic of boss fights, were they epic? Right? Like, you think of boss fights, you think of like, the Souls bosses, or like for me it's the Returnal bosses, and like those are like iconic, right?
Mhm.
Same with the Jedi Fallen games, right? Like those are moments. Did these
Sure.
feel like moments when playing them?
I don't think so personally.
Right.
But I do. What felt like a moment for me was, and this isn't always a game with me, because I notoriously bad at video games. I say this almost every podcast. I am just bad at games, right?
Right.
When I failed the first time, Like the first time I faced this boss, I said, "Nah, I can do that. Nah,
Right.
nah, nah, I can get this motherfucker."
Yeah.
And that's what I love about certain boss fights and certain levels of difficulty is like, no, 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 no. Like
Let
if
me
I
come
just
in.
do this a little differently,
Yep.
let me run that back. That's
Yeah.
what felt special to me. And in terms of a moment, I know what you're getting at, like the
Mhm.
epicness
Like
of
a
it.
set piece. Yeah.
I don't maybe there was only one of them had like a genuine cutscene where it's like, haha, this is the name of this thing,
Right.
then you went into it and it was fun. And the dude, so and I say you're like a chunky, thick, lanky guy, but this thing is towering over you and has the reach of like maybe six of you.
Damn.
So you're
Oh
just like
wow.
they're slow on purpose, right, to give you a
Right.
goddamn chance.
Yeah.
So they're like ta, then they have to like reel it in. So you dodge and then fucking haul ass and ta ta ta, and then you get out of there and because you can
Mhm.
parry, but it just doesn't work as well.
Yeah.
And then I tried for science, literally for science. I was like, I'm just gonna block one. Fucking killed my ass. just
Right.
Yeah.
I was like, well,
I mean, yeah,
but
that makes sense.
oh,
Like a
and
thing like 6 times your size.
sure, sure.
It's
But I'm a serum. I'm special.
right.
I should be able to survive one hit. Come on. But in terms of dying, that's a good thing too that I should bring up. When you die, you don't lose anything, but the gear
Fuck
you
yeah.
went into loses its like uh, there's a like its health essentially. So like you
Right.
have
Oh, okay.
durability. So like you go into it with 100 durability. The first time I died, it went to 75, right?
Oh wow.
And then
Yeah.
I died again. Now it's at 55, right? But it doesn't lose any of its like actual stats.
Right.
It's just you are at risk of it
Mm,
breaking if you keep dying like this.
Yeah.
So it even more encourages you to okay, this isn't working. Let me approach this differently.
experiment.
I don't want to
Right.
lose my fucking best sword over here,
Mhm.
so I'm going to go in
Yep.
honestly with a different weapon to see if I can figure out a new strategy.
Right.
So I like that
That's
as a
cool.
complete package. I like it. It's
Yeah.
frustrating because you're
Oh
like, I
yeah.
know this is my best chance, but it's gonna break
Right.
if I die again.
Yeah.
You know what
And
I
so
mean?
Yeah.
then would you be at that point, would you be able to explore, backtrack a little, go find
Um,
resources to like increase their ability and kind of repair the weapon and then kind of come back later?
I think so, yes, unless it's a boss fight, because
Oh,
I
okay.
do know the boss fight kinda locked me in, but there are
Oh, okay.
genuinely
Mm,
hard, like, just encounters by itself. I
Right.
mhm.
only died to one genuine encounter, but there are a lot of encounters of, like, several enemies on screen, right, where
Yeah.
I got close, man, and I was healing and eating food and, like,
Right.
it's not easy to just, like, do a walk and like, for instance, like, when I put the game down and came back, which I didn't wanna put it down, it's that good, but and came back the next day, I kind of forgot how to play. And when
Right.
you forget how to
Mhm.
play a game like this, it's
Oh
really
yeah.
punishing to you.
Yeah.
So I had to like really kind of focus and look at the controls again because you can't really go practice because like you're gonna die and lose durability for your best stuff.
Right.
Mhm.
But I got like epic loot. I don't know because it is random. The loot is random, so I could have
Yeah.
got something worse than this. But I got
Mhm.
a sword that has like 4 special abilities, and
Oh,
it's like
die?
the strength I need is like 14, and I'm
Mhm.
at 13, and I'm like son of a
Interesting.
bitch. But I have
Yeah.
not been able to use that sword yet because I haven't
Yeah.
leveled
Mhm.
up since I beat the boss. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, let's see if there's anything else I want to get to before. No, I think I've pretty much covered everything.
Right.
Like
Mhm.
there's no genuine pause button. I guess that's
Yeah.
something I want to bring up. So you can't
That's
just like, oh fuck, and then like you
Right.
have to be in a safe area or whatever, which there
I
aren't
was
many.
Yeah.
that was a question. I had it and then forgot it, and then you brought the pause thing. I was like, "Yep, I did. I
Yeah.
was going to bring
Mhm,
out
Yeah.
if there actually is a pause because I know some Souls
Right.
like games are like that where
Nope, there's a menu, but
Yeah.
you're just standing there.
yeah,
So, and I kind of touched on this before, but I want to reiterate because it's a genuine like huge plus for me. It's very cinematic.
Nice.
When you go into a
that's cool.
cutscene, you go into a cutscene. It's really, really cool, and it really shows off the art style even more, and the sun and the orange lighting, and how they're
Right.
doing that. And it's
Mhm.
really, 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 really cool.
All right. So one final question. I have, we've been talking about this, and it all sounds great, but it also
Mm.
all sounds very familiar. Like it sounds like some
Mhm.
other games I've played. Some of it sounds very Bloodborne-esque, Survivor. Like it sounds like all the other Souls-like games, right? Which isn't a knock at all, right? It just you know
It's
sounds a
the
little.
genre.
Yeah, it's the genre, right? So what is this doing to stand out within the genre? Is it that top-down camera? Is it the systems in there? Is what is making? Is it the art style? Right? What's making it stand out amongst a very overcrowded genre?
Yeah, I think it is their art style. It is the cinematic nature of it.
Right.
It is the systems at play. It is the fact that it genuinely feels unique to me, at least.
Right.
Like this is not. I've never played a
Mhm.
game that's like this. Like I got feelings of like Oblivion kind of playing this game.
Right.
Clearly,
Mm.
like
Okay.
just that kind of like jumping into a world that I have no idea what's going
Mhm.
on, and you have all
Yeah.
your gear and you're managing an RPG and your stats. Like it felt like that to me, but it
Right.
feels so unique. I think it for players like you said, it feels like a very Bloodborne esque, right? I think for players who are like veterans of that genre, I think it will feel familiar but still feel
Right.
fresh because it's
Okay.
just it's
Nice.
different enough. Like I really do
Right.
feel like that. And as someone who doesn't play those games, I can't speak entirely on that. But when I'm playing it, I'm literally thinking I've never played a game like this. And
Right.
again, that could be just me, but I
Mhm.
would bet that there's a unique enough nature to this that people would agree for the most part. I understand people are like,
Right.
no, this is just this top down. This is just this like with a different coat of paint and a different art
Yeah.
style. I get that, I do, but all those small changes plus how just the feel of it overall and uniqueness makes it that there's that much more oomph. Like I think it has that to it.
Okay.
I
Nice.
think it is bringing something new, or at least enough to the genre that it will
Right.
stand out. It
To
will
justify
genuinely
it.
stand. Yes, it will stand
Nice.
out. So as Alec, you got any more questions for me before I wrap it up a little bit?
No, I think you got it pretty much covered.
Okay. So my overall little blurb, No Rest for the Wicked is definitively not for me, but I can't deny how awesome and how well done the product already is. And in early access, like again, the only glitches I do were that weird targeting thing and some audio clipping, which is probably
Right.
just my PC. Like
Yeah.
in
Mhm.
terms of it being early access, I don't think there was a single genuine problem. It is so unique and interesting that despite my qualms, with the qualms are just like me as a gamer, not with the game
Mhm.
doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
Uh, it's not quality issues. I want to continue playing. Like there's no quality issues with it. It's just me as a how I
Mhm.
like games.
Yeah.
And even though I don't like those games, I'm going to continue playing this game. So
Right.
there it is. So also I cannot wait for co-op. That's my
Oh
last little
yeah.
my last little thing.
Yeah,
Co-op
yeah.
in this game sounds really fucking dope. So
Yeah.
that's what I have. So guys, pivoting onto that because Moon Studios is tackling like a different genre, an ARPG. They went from Metroidvania
Mhm.
to an ARPG, which like we talked about a little bit, kind of that kind of
Mhm.
through line of difficulty and that kind of thing. It kind of made sense, but it's still them
Right.
changing genre.
Yep.
What's another developer you want to see do that? Let's start with Josh.
Um, I am gonna start with id Software. Doom and Doom Eternal are incredible in their combat systems, right? Especially as a first-person shooter. The big thing is the dance of violence that you're doing around the levels as you're,
Yep.
going in and out, and you're like it's an arcade first person shooter and you're like forced to fight, right? You only get ammo and health pickups from taking down these demons, from quickly executing them, ripping and tearing onto the next, right? I love that. That is peak first person shooter for me,
Mhm.
and no one's done it on the third person side, I feel. Like right now,
Oh, yeah.
we just talked about a lot of souls like games, and that's what third person hack and slash games have become. It's the souls like games, it's the dodge, the parry, right? The
Mhm.
difficulty. I'm done with that. I want to throw that shit out the window, and I want id to take on the hack and slash genre. Let me get
Yeah.
up in there, start attacking. Give me,
So,
the drops, the health drops, the
Do
gear
you
from
do you just
from
want Gears of
enemies.
War but not a shooter?
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, you're
yeah.
essentially almost. I mean, to me, it just seems like a platinum game. Like
Uh,
it's some of those
okay,
like Bayonetta, Astral
yeah.
Chain, like those
But
kind
with
of.
id's like stylish
Exactly.
gameplay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
with it, like, with
It's
the
platinum. They make weird games.
yeah,
Well, yeah, but
yeah,
it's either get really good or real bad.
Yeah,
right,
they're just
yeah,
stylish. They're out
yeah,
there.
I don't know, Platinum Games kinda like, I don't know what it is about them, but I don't know, there's no appeal or hook to me on some of
Mhm.
Sure,
them, right? Versus,
sure.
like, it has that sauce. They
Oh
got
yeah, for
the
sure.
iconic nature with all the weapons
Well,
and
I guess
the ripping and tearing.
or I guess maybe even Capcom too with the Devil May Cry series because those
Oh,
are more
okay.
hack and slash as well, not
Right.
necessarily like Souls like.
Yeah, and the one that, like, I thought in terms of, like, comparison would be, like, Metal Gear Vengeance. Is that the
Oh
third
yeah,
person
Rising
rated?
Vengeance.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, which is kinda like the only thing
one of the
similar,
few
but
Metal Gear games I've actually played.
yeah, yeah,
That's
exactly,
so
but,
weird.
like, the hack and slash genre is, like, kind of taken a back seat
It really has.
in the day and age of Souls like games. There
Yeah.
are way too many
Mhm.
Souls like games, and I think id Software would be the guys to bring that back.
Oh,
I
can
would
you
love that. I think in reality, we'd probably get something from id that is more akin to what's that shooter Souls like? It just came out the two Remnant.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
I
Remnant
feel like we'd
2,
get something
yeah.
more akin to that from them, but I totally
right,
I get what you're getting at. Kind of like
yeah,
even
Mhm.
more of a slight genre bend for them.
yeah,
So
I was gonna say you could almost see the slogan of just like, or because you're talking about hack and slash. It's like
right.
hack and or something to do with hack and slash, in the
Ye-
slogan. Like,
Yeah, and like it feels like it took hack and slash from third person and made it rip and tear in first person with Doom,
right.
and that was a perfect pairing. But man, it's been 4 years since the last Doom game, and I know it was on that
Yeah.
Microsoft
has it
Game.
been 4 years since
It's been
Eternal?
4 years since
21,
Eternal,
yeah.
and so
Or
it's
no, it's
like
20 because it was the
we're
pandemic when it came
yeah,
out.
we are destined for something from them, and I think it'll probably be more Doom. But man, would I love it to be something else?
Uh, I will say,
Sure.
just for as somebody that I've only played a couple of the Doom or the newer Doom games.
Yeah,
Eternal
I
did get
played
real complex with its control scheme.
sure.
Like
I,
I
I
needed an
agree.
elite controller to be able to play that game
Sure.
with just the paddles and
Yeah,
I've 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 clearly dabbled with like the original Doom, right? I feel like if you play
right.
video games, you've at least picked it up and done a few rounds of it. But I played 2016 Doom. Is
Yeah.
that
Yep.
I played a Nintendo Switch.
Oof. Yikes.
Yeah, and I used
Yeah,
gyro, dude. I
dude,
used gyro.
stop. Play that on PS5, man.
I played through like 3/4 of that game on Switch
Damn.
using gyro, dude. It was
Oh
it's
wow.
kind of good, right? But I didn't have anything to compare it
Interesting.
to, so I
Right.
was like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
this seems fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, Alec.
So one of the first ones that I thought of, I mean, granted, this is already rumor, so I'll just get through this one kind of quick, but the Horizon Monster Hunter game. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
to me, that one just seems like it's such a no-brainer because like something
Mhm.
I've kind of noticed in a lot of our reviews, especially with like more like combat heavy games, we
Mhm.
always talk about trying to or like getting into that flow state. Like if the game has like a good rhythm, a good flow state in for that combat, we tend to
Yeah.
like it a lot more because you to the using your abilities, your different weapons. Like
Mhm.
having recently gotten back into Horizon Forbidden West, you do find yourself getting into that flow state of like, okay,
Mhm.
setting up your tripwires, putting up some traps, getting
Yep.
your bombs ready to like, get their weak points.
I feel
And
like
it's like,
games that allow you to hit that flow state means they understand the game they're making because that
yes.
Right.
doesn't happen in every game. Like it's fully utilizing everything it's taught you up to this point, and then blah blah
Yeah.
blah, but more and more and more. Yeah.
Yeah. So like just thinking about that aspect of the Horizon games and then mixing that with like fighting this giant robotic dinosaur thing with like three of
Yeah.
your friends, like that just sounds so much fun.
Yeah.
Totally.
And so I know it's been heavily rumored, so that's why it was just one of those things. Like I just need that to happen because that sounds like
Has
an
that
Yeah.
absolute blast.
not been confirmed?
I don't know if it has been confirmed, but I
Yeah.
know it's been so heavily
Gun to my
rumored.
head, if you
Yeah.
said, "Is this happening?" I'd be like, "Yeah, they announced it."
Yeah. I like
I
it
know
makes
it
sense.
hasn't been announced, but yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense with
Mhm.
the direction PlayStation is wanting to go in, but
Mhm.
like if Last of Us can't get their multiplayer game out, like
Right.
is Horizon gonna be like
I think
are
so.
they gonna be able to,
I
you
think
I
they
know?
can.
think I think it just it reeks more. If this fails, it won't be that much of a blunder monetarily because it's gonna
Right.
sell copies. They're gonna have a fan base.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So whereas the other one with like The Last of Us, I feel like you might get a lot of people in there, but I don't the tail like how long that lasts. I feel like it's very up in the air
Right.
for that kind of IP.
So
Okay.
the
Oh,
other
okay.
one,
That was your quick
uh,
rapid fire one, right?
yeah,
Okay,
the
gotcha.
other one I had was so the I'm blanking on the developer's name, but the people who made Celeste, they
Oh
I
God.
think they had such a great platformer, such great level design. I think they
Yeah.
can make a great Metroidvania.
Okay.
Like just the explorability, like just the
Yeah.
intricate level design of like the screen to screen gameplay.
Mhm.
Hmm.
I could see them doing a Metroidvania really well, which I don't know. They have Earthblade coming up. I don't know if that's supposed to be a Metroidvania, but I mean, they might already be doing it.
Yeah.
If
I
that
don't
is,
know. I don't think it's a Metroidvania, but I could be wrong. But the developers are Maddie Makes Games and Extremely OK Games. That might be the publisher. I'm not sure. But
Mhm.
Maddie Makes Games
Right.
sounds familiar. I remember it was a
Yes,
very
yep,
small team.
yep.
Hmm.
But yeah, that I just think they could do Metroidvania so well, given how great the level design in Celeste was.
Yeah, that's a team that understands that like that perspective, that how to tell a story from that perspective. So yeah, if they just kind of, and that's a genre bend. I'm not saying it isn't, but I almost feel like it's in the wheelhouse already. Like they can just kind of like tilt that a little bit, and they're kind of in there, and they kind of have it made. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. My I'm kind of cheating, so don't yell at me. I want Atlas, the people who make Persona, to make a
Yep.
card game. And hold on, I
Whoa.
I played this game called Final Fantasy Rebirth recently, and there's a
Yup.
card game called Queen's Blood. And the
Yup.
Queen's Blood part that you're forced to play, I didn't want to, but after playing through it, I'm like, this is fucking awesome. This is like
Yup.
Yu-Gi-Oh, but like with a budget,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's what I want out of Atlas, because I think Atlas could do the day-to-day cutscenes and anime as anime, like nature
Mm-hmm.
of that kind of stuff right, and do character moments right. And then I think Atlas would be creative enough and bonkers enough to make an engaging card game. So
Right.
basically, I want
Mm-hmm.
anime as fuck Yu-Gi-Oh with characters and cutscenes, but just not Yu-Gi-Oh. Like I want it to be like a
Yeah.
different thing, and I think Atlas could
Mm-hmm.
pull that off. And they can maybe even make it in the Persona universe. Like they could have all the personas be cards and shit. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I just think that would work 100% because the anime moments with Cloud, and I think his name is Red 13. He has
Yeah.
another name that I'm
Yep.
blanking on, but not Nanaki.
Nanagi. Yep.
Anyway, when he like reveals himself to on that part as like the
Mm-hmm.
final champion, I didn't beat him. I was like, I
I
can't
think
do
it
it.
took me. I think it did take me a try to beat him as well.
But those cutscene interstitials between going up to the your next challenger and your next
Yep.
challenger, I loved that shit. It
Yep.
was
Right.
so good. And usually I'm like let's just get to the next thing. And I went in the fact that I went into that feeling that, and it changed my mind by how like high budget and how good it was.
Yep.
And it wasn't just like, oh, surprising. Like it literally, I did a 180 on
Mm-hmm.
this is awesome. This is what I want to do. So yeah, I
Yeah.
want that from Atlas with their budget behind it, 'cause I think that would be fucking fantastic.
Yeah, I thought I heard that the team who like kind of helped make Queen's Blood, I think they said like, they spent almost just a year just working that out, making sure like that game is well
It
balanced
shows.
and
It shows. And
Right.
even like the Queen's Blood itself, like it's good, don't get me wrong. I do like Queen's Blood, but like
Mhm.
that itself wasn't what like drew me to it. It was the
Right.
whole package of like the
Oh, for sure.
cutscenes, the interstitials, and them taking it seriously and being like too forward and pointing out your next challenger kind of a thing. And but like
Yep.
they
Yeah.
did it where it was like just the right amount of cringe. Like it was good.
Yep.
I liked it a lot.
I like it.
Josh, you have another one?
Yeah, I got two developers I kind of want to see swap positions,
Ooh.
and that is Telltale Games and Bethesda Studios
Ooh.
proper. I know this isn't this isn't the craziest thing,
Mhm.
but man, like Telltale has that sauce when it comes to the world building, the decision making. I love their
Mhm.
Batman series.
Oh
They're the
yeah.
best Batman games. Like
Yep.
that take on Batman is so fresh and so new, and I would love to see
Mhm.
them apply that decision driven storytelling to an open world RPG game, a la Fallout or Starfield, whatever. Right?
Yep.
They juggle their ABC plots so well, expand that out into a main plot, expand that out into side quests, develop and fully flesh a world. And then meanwhile, on the other side, like I'd love to see Bethesda Studios go from, these open world games that take 10, 15 years to get a sequel out of and make, and just do smaller, you know,
Smaller
episodic,
stories.
yeah, episodic story stuff,
Yeah,
uh,
if they gave me like if Bethesda Game Studios gave me a Telltale game that is like a ghoul like a human slowly turning into a ghoul,
yes, dude.
I think that would
Oh
be like
yeah.
traumatic
Yeah,
and really well done. And yeah,
right?
so
Oh, especially coming off the show too, right? You could do Tales of the
Yeah.
Fallout or anything like that.
Tales
And
of the Vaults. Boom.
yeah, Tales of the Vaults,
Boom.
but like there it is, right? And just smaller episodic stuff, because you always like leave some of the side quests and some of the quests in Fallout, which is like a gut punch of just like, what
Yeah.
did I do?
mhm.
What decision did I make? Did I make the right decision? And to
Gotta
instead
save.
finish,
You gotta save often.
yeah, yeah, exactly, right. I just blew up Megaton. Was that the right call? Oops, am I a bad
Ah!
guy? But instead of, that being a side quest, what if that was the end of, episode 2 in a 5 episode
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
game, and you have
Mhm.
to just sit with that decision until episode 3 is out. Like I would
Yeah,
love something like that
Mhm.
from these two studios, kind of
that'd be
swapping
cool.
over.
It'd be even cooler for me personally if it was like a Fallout 3 tie-in where it's like
Right?
you were a resident of Megaton, and in
Yeah.
this canon you
Oh
come back and it's
yeah.
exploded, and you're
Right?
like, "I'm gonna find who did this." And
Yeah,
then
Oh
you
dude.
chase down the
yeah.
lone wanderer, end up at
Yeah.
Tenpenny Tower, and yeah, so
Oh yeah.
anyway. You said you had 2 that were gonna swap places.
Switch. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Alec, do you have another one then?
Yeah, so I've been addicted to this fan game called Poke Rogue, and it's a
Oh, right.
Pokemon roguelike game
Okay.
where it's you just do battles after battle after battle after battle. And I just think a Pokemon roguelite game would be so cool, even if it's not like the main series kind of
Yeah.
battle. I think even if they do like a almost like a mystery dungeon style kind of game and make it roguelike, like I think that could do really
Mhm.
well. Just
Yeah.
because,
Uh, I'll take
oh
any
yeah.
other Pokemon game that isn't Mystery Dungeon at this point. Like,
Which I
just give
mean,
me
Right.
something that
so
isn't the
that
main line, but not Mystery
if you
Dungeon.
guys haven't tried Poke Rogue, it's a browser-based game. You can play it on your phone, your computer, your tablet. It's like
Damn.
it's you can play it anywhere. It's a browser-based. It's so
Mhm.
fun, so addicting. It's just been sucking up all my free time. Even got it going on my Steam Deck.
Nice.
I'll consider it. I'll tell you that. I'm addicted to a different game right now called Balatro or whatever. But
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah, I finally discovered that game. I don't have any
Mhm.
more. So if you guys have more, lay it on me.
Yeah,
But
those
that's
are
all
the
I
only ones
got.
I
So
had.
yeah,
My other one would be Playdead behind Limbo and
Inside.
Inside making an Uncharted game. Like
Whoa.
I
Okay,
love
okay.
like Uncharted-esque, Tomb Raider-esque game. Like I love the background scenery in Limbo and Inside when you're going through, and that kind of storytelling throughout the world and like just seeing stuff off in the distance. That's a big part of like an Uncharted-esque game is that scale, is those environments, right?
Mhm.
Is seeing something far out, but then working your way to there and you're scaling it and climbing it and exploring inside of it, as well as just all the puzzles that those games have, right? Like those would
Mhm.
transfer over to an Uncharted-esque game very well. And like a lot of your storytelling is environmental, but man, do they have the sauce when it comes to that stuff. And so if they had like actual fully fleshed characters, right? Something Naughty Dog esque, like I feel like they'd definitely be able
Mhm.
to cook and expand that genre and hopefully bring something new and something fresh to it. Because man, I just miss some linear games. I just
Right
miss
there with you, man.
Like a
I'm
like
right
a
playing.
there with
4 to
you.
6 hour experience. You mean you
Yes,
miss those?
yes, yes,
Yep.
dude.
Yep.
I miss freaking starting to like chapter 12, and I'm like, oh, I'm only 4 hours into this thing.
Uh-huh.
I'm
Yep.
on chapter 12 of 16. Man, am I close to the end?
I swear you get like a serotonin boost. You're like, I'm about to beat the whole game.
Yeah,
Holy
yeah, man.
shit!
Yeah. And
Yep.
so like Limbo and Inside are only like 2 hours to 4 hours.
I think Inside was 4 hours for me.
Yeah.
Mm.
Limbo I
Um,
never beat. I just kind of dabbled. Like this game's cool
yeah.
because it
But
was like
man,
Mhm.
free so many times.
yeah. But
Oh
like
yeah.
taking that and on a grander scale in the third person with the camera, maybe gun gameplay,
Mhm.
maybe not, but puzzles for sure. Like I feel like they would definitely cook.
Yeah. So you wanted the perspective that's similar to Inside, but it's Nathan Drake, right?
They could do it that 2D side scroller or
Yeah.
like definitely third person. Like I think if they expanded out and went more third person, like they could still bring the environmental elements from Inside and Limbo
Mhm.
into an Uncharted-esque game. And then one other one, we've already seen Respawn pivot from first person to third person Souls like with Star Wars. And then they're gonna pivot back and the first person, Mandalorian game that we're all upset about. But man, if they had to do
Yeah. All of
one
us.
more pivot, all of us, everyone
Yep.
had to do one more pivot, I would have to go for like that top down dungeon crawler but with Star Wars. Like
Yeah.
that would be
yeah.
something
Yeah.
else, right? They have the combat down. I'm almost kind of thinking like Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, that remake
Oh
style, right?
yeah.
Something like
I
that
love that game.
with with lightsabers there, like
Mhm.
the world exploring you do in in Survivor, like the caves and taverns you go into,
Oh yeah.
incredible, right? And so just doing that, but a little bit more linear, a little more top down, exploring, fighting, all that stuff in the Star Wars universe would be chef's kiss for me.
As
That,
long as you give me at least a pod racing segment, then I'm
dude,
Oh,
hell yeah,
yo, top
dude,
down like
top
pod racing.
down,
yeah,
yeah,
dude, like
Oh
the old
yeah.
yeah,
school, not Hot Wheels. It's
yeah,
called
man,
something similar to that. You know what I'm talking
yeah,
about?
oh
Yeah.
yeah, oh yeah,
Like drifting, I think it was like Drift Rally or some
right,
crazy thing like that.
I know you brought up respawn and like the top down thing. That made me
yeah.
think, oh, like a top down Titanfall game would be really cool.
Ooh,
Because then you could
Yeah,
get out
man.
and you have segments where you have to get out and like be the pilot and do things with the pilot, and then
Right.
you have like kind of bigger and more open segments where you can be in the Titan.
Oh, dude. Dude. Oh my
Right?
god, that'd be
Right?
incredible.
it's just Into the Breach, but not a puzzle game.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, honestly.
remember that game?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I love
Something
that
to call
game.
out. It's good. It's a good game.
Yeah.
It's,
I suck at it, but I remember being
oh
like,
yeah,
"This game
it's
rocks."
terrible at it.
This game's good. But, yeah, is that all we got? Is that all the
Yeah.
genre bending we
Yeah.
got for this one? All
Yeah.
right, fantastic. So we have talked all things No Rest for the Wicked. We have talked all things genre bending with our ideas of. I can't believe he knows what triggers it now, and he does it on purpose. I'm convinced.
My bad.
Oh,
My
yeah.
bad.
No, he's not. He's not sorry at all. All right. I
No.
want everyone to know he did that 110% on purpose. Thank you for watching this episode of Media Club. I'm gonna wave goodbye to the camera. Goodbye.